There are so many different programming languages in the market. Now, all these different programming languages have some of the basic concepts which are in common. Now, as a beginner or a fresher, if you're stepping into the world of coding and you want to learn all these different programming languages, you should first go and learn these basic concepts which are common in all different programming languages. Why? The reason is very obvious. If you know these basic concepts, then it will be very easy for you to understand and get an understanding of all these different programming languages. So Great Learning has decided to come up with a video on what are the basic concepts of programming for beginners. Before we get started, I want to introduce you to Great Learning Academy, a free initiative by Great Learning. You can access over 200 plus courses with 1000 plus hours of free content on trending high demand domains absolutely free. Register now to complete the course and get your free certificate of completion. Check out the link in the description of the video below. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, I want to request you to hit the subscribe button and turn on the notifications bell so that you don't miss out on any new updates or video releases from Great Learning. If you enjoy this video, show us some love and like this video. Knowledge increases by sharing, so make sure you share this video with your friends and colleagues. Make sure to comment on the video, any queries or suggestions, and I will respond to your comments. So let's begin with this video and let's see one by one what are the basic concepts that we should learn as a beginner when we want to understand the different programming languages. Now, before starting with the very first basic concept which we are going to discuss here, I should tell you that this particular video is not specific to any programming language, because obviously we are going to talk about the common concepts which are there included in all different programming languages. So here we are not going to be specific about any one programming language, but we will see all the basic concepts with different programming languages, how those basic concepts are used. So let's begin with the very first one, and that is our variable. Now, if you are a beginner or a fresher or just somebody who is stepping into the world of coding, this is one particular concept which should be known to you in the starting, because this particular concept will be used as a whole anywhere whenever you will do the coding. Now let's see why is it so important and what is it, right? Okay, so I have written some pointers here, but before reading those pointers, let me show you what is actually this variable. So this variable is nothing but like a container. So the container will be something like this, right? And container contains something, correct? Container should be having some name, right? Let's say that, let's take an example. In your kitchen, in your home, kitchen will be there, right? And in the kitchen, your mom must be keeping some masalas in some containers, right? So let's say that this is one container in which your mom is keeping turmeric powder. So I've written turmeric, TP, turmeric powder, right? And there is some turmeric powder inside this container, right? There will be some other container in which there will be some mirchi powder, let's say, right? So here we have all our mirchi powder, right, in this container. Why your mom is keeping all these things like this? Why all the different masalas are kept in different containers? Because it will be easy for her to identify that which particular container is containing turmeric or which particular container is containing mirchi, right? That is why we have named it. So it is very easy for her to understand. The same thing happens in coding as well. So what do? We have different containers like this, and we store values in those containers. So if I'm giving a container name as A, so I can store a value 10 here. And if I have another container, I can save a value 20. The name of the container is B. Why I'm giving these names? So that it will be very easy for me to identify that this container name is A and this container name is B. These names are called as variables, right? Okay, if you have not understood, let me make you understand by the technical terms. So it's a symbolic name or reference to some kind of information. See, my information is 10 and I'm giving a symbolic name to it, which is A. Again, my information is 20 and I'm giving a symbolic name to it, which is B, correct? So it's just a symbolic name or reference to store some value or some kind of information. So a variable is a virtual container. Why is it virtual? Because these containers you can't actually touch, feel, or it's not real. Like example which I gave you about the kitchen. In kitchen you can go and you can feel the container, you can touch it, and you can see that container. But in programming languages or in the system, we can't actually touch this container because it is virtual, it's not real. So where is it then? It is inside the RAM, the random access memory of our system. So it is stored. You know what is RAM, right? It is storing all the data, right? So this is also a data. So these all datas are kept storing in our RAM. Okay. Now we will come back to this RAM here, but let's first complete all these statements. So a variable is a virtual container whose value can change over a period of time. Now what is this? Okay. Let me make you understand by the same example of the kitchen, right? So in the kitchen, your mom is having one container in which turmeric powder is there, right? Now after a while, like after some months, this turmeric powder is finished, okay? And you don't need the turmeric powder now. So you need one more container in which you want to keep the garam masala, okay? So now this container is empty, right? Because turmeric powder is finished. So what your mom will do, your mom will remove this tag from here. She will write garam masala and she will put the garam masala instead of turmeric powder here. So what is she doing? She is actually removing the stuff and changing the value. So when the value is not there or when the value is removed, she is replacing that particular value with a different value, right? Now there is no turmeric powder here. There is a garam masala, correct? So the thing is that over a span of time, we can change this value whenever we want. This 10 can become 20 or 30 after span of time. That means, suppose if I'm writing a code, okay, these 3 lines of code I've written, and then I've written int a equal to 10. What is this? This is how we actually store our values into a variable. So this is done. Now I've written some more codes, and after that what I've done, a equal to 30. What I'm doing here, I am storing the value of 10 here in my a variable, but later on I removed 10 and I kept 30 here. So over a span of time, over this much span of time, I have changed my value of the variable, right? So you can do this with variables, okay? But there is one more type of variable which is also called as final variable, in which you can't change the value of the variable. That you will be able to learn when you will go deep, inside the programming language, specific programming language. So right now, let's not discuss about final, but yes, if you have already learned the basics, you must be knowing what is final, okay? How do we write variables? So we write int, which is a data type. What is data type? So for every variable, we need to tell the variable that which type of data are you putting inside it. Okay, let's say that I have a water bottle. So in the water bottle, should I keep the masalas? No, right? Or in the masala container, can I store the water? No, right? You can't do that because those containers are made for each individual things, right? So a water bottle is created to store water and a masala container is created to store masala. So this variable is created to store integer values, which is 10. So I'm mentioning here that it can store integer, right? The same way we can write anything else. So we can write a string, let's say a equal to Ritvik. So a is the variable name and it's storing Ritvik, and Ritvik is what? Ritvik is a string. It's a combination of characters. So it's a string. So I'm mentioning here the data type, the type of data, string, right? Okay. We will see how this variable is written in all different programming languages, but let's first see how it is actually stored in the RAM. So you can see here, this blue thing is the RAM and the green thing is the container. So this green particular part is the container in which 10 value is saved, and the variable name is role which is pointing into it. Okay, so the variable name for this container is role. Perfect. Now that you have understood what is variable, let's move to our next slide and let's see in different programming languages how do we write the syntax for a variable. So in Python, which is the most famous programming languages right now in this era, so we directly write it. We don't use the data type. If you see here, I'm not saying integer x equal to 5. I'm just saying x equal to 5. Why? Because Python doesn't need an understanding of which data type are you writing. Python is really very smart to understand on its own that what are you giving it to the variable. So right now it is giving a number to it and then it is giving a string to it and they are printing. So it's very easy for to write a variable in a Python language. When it comes to Java, then you can see we have to mention specifically that which data type are you using. Okay, also the data type topic is one more basic concept which we will see in our next topics. So don't worry if you don't have any idea on what is data type, don't worry. Later in this particular video itself, I'll explain you what is data type because that is also one basic concept in our programming languages. Okay, done. Now in C++, it's exactly the same. How do you do in Java? So if you see int, then the variable name and then the value. So it's exactly the same. The only difference in all the programming languages when you talk about variable is just the printing. So if you see, how do we print something in Java is system.out.println, but how do we print something in C++? We write cout. And the same goes with C. So in C, the printing is done using the word printf, okay, or println. But the same thing is there, the same syntax is there for the variable also. So if you see int a equal to 10, b equal to 20, because a and b both variables I want it to be integer, so I've written it in one line itself. Float means decimal values. So you can see 20.8, it's a decimal value. We mention float. That's a data type name. Then char means character, because you can see a is a single character. So I've mentioned here char. So char is a data type also. Okay. Don't worry if you have no idea what is int, float, and char. You will see a discussion on this data types in the later part of this video. Right? So I hope you have understood in different programming languages how this variable, which is a basic and common concept, is written. Now let's jump to the next basic concept and let's understand what is that. So now let's move to our next basic concept, which is nothing but the conditional statements. So this particular conditional statements is really very easy concept and it is used in most of the different programming languages. Let's see what it is. So these are some expressions that ask the program to determine if a variable is true or false. Let's understand this particular statement in a more easy manner. So suppose if I say that if A is scoring greater than 80, then he will get a surprise, right? Else he will not get a surprise. So as you can see, what I have written here is these are some expressions. This is one condition which asks the program to determine whether this is a true statement or a false statement. If it is a true condition, if A will score more than 80, then he will get a surprise. If he will not get more than 80, then he will not get a surprise. So it's kind of a conditional statement that depends on the result of the condition, what should be printed, right? Another example can be similar to this. So it can be like if A is double equal to 30, that means if A value is equal to 30, then it should print hello. Otherwise, that means else, it should print hi, right? Easy. Now, if you look at the flowchart which is presented here, this is also saying the same thing. So if A is true, then B, else will go to C and then end the if. So this is called as a pseudo code. This is not the actual program, but we are just trying to make you understand that what is this if else. So if A is equal to true, then print B, else print C. That is what is happening here. So this is the condition. Let me write here. Let's write condition. Right, this is the condition. Condition can result into two things. Either it will be true or either it will be false. If it is false, then please print C. If it is true, then please print B. And at last it will come to an end. Right? So there are two possible ways. One is true and one is false. Let's see in different programming languages, how do we use this particular conditional statement. So we will see first for Python and Java, and then we will move to C++ and C. So if you look in Python, it's really very simple. So we are taking two variables, A and B. A value is 434 and B value is 37. Now if B is greater than A, that means 37 is greater than 434. This is my condition. Is it true or false? We need to decide this here itself. 37 is greater than 434. This is not true. That means the condition is false, right? So again, there are some conditions written here. If B is greater than A, so it is false, it will not go to this print statement. It will come to elif. Elif is what? Elif is else if. So it's coming to else, and then again one condition, A double equal to B. So 37 is double equal to 434. Is it equal? No, these are not equal. So this printing statement will also not get printed. Then it comes to else. What is this else? When all the necessary conditions are false, then at last it will come here and it will print this. There's no condition for else. We don't write any condition for else. So this is the particular thing which will be printed. A is greater than B. And that is what is true, right? 434 is greater than 37. So this is what will get printed. This is how we write it in Python. Let's see how do we write the same conditional statement in Java. So we have the main methods and all, and then we have the variable which is your time equal to 17, and then we have the condition. Let's see what is there in the condition. Time is less than 10. That means 17 is less than 10. Is it true? I don't think so. So it is false. So system.out.println good morning will not get printed. Then it will come to else if. What is else if? That means the second condition. Time is greater than, time is less than 20. So 17 is less than 20. Is it true? No, it is false. So again, this particular system.out.println will also not get printed. Now we have only one left thing, which is the else part. And in else part, as I said, there will be no condition. So this is the last statement which will be printed, which is good evening. And if you look at the problem, now why is it printing good evening? Because 17 is nothing but 5 p.m. and 5 p.m. is always a good evening time, right? So these are the conditions which is letting me print good evening, correct? Let's move to C++ and let's see how do we do it in C++. It's the same way how we do it in Java. There's no change as such. So if you see here, again, the time is 22. 22 is lesser than 10. It's false. This will not get printed. 22 is less than 20. Again, this is also wrong, so it will not get printed. Else good evening. So obviously it will print good evening, right? And again, the C language is the same concept. So if you see here, they are asking from the user the value of their age. So what is their age? So it is printing enter your age. And in this scanf it is written age. So let's suppose I'm writing here 21. Now the condition is if age is greater than equal to 18, that means 21 is greater than equal to 18. Yes, this is true. So it will print if you are eligible to vote. Suppose if you give the age as 17, then what happens? Then 17 is greater than equal to 18, which will come false, and it will print the else statement, which is sorry, you can't vote. Correct? So this is how we use the conditional statements in all different kinds of programming languages. It is really a very easy concept, and these conditional statements come in 4 parts. So we have the if statement, then we have the if else, then we have the if else if, and we have the ladder, right? So these are the four different types of conditional statements. Now Python and Java and C++ and C is accepting all these four. In the examples which I have written here, I have used if else and if else if, right? So you can go through these, you can see one by one how does it work. It's the same concept based on the condition. If the condition is true, then the statement will be printed. If the condition is false, then it goes to the next statement with the else command, right? Okay, now that we have understood the two basic concepts, which is variables and conditional statements, now the third one is really very important for you, and which is looping constructs, right? So what is looping and what is iteration? Let's understand this particular concept. It is very important concept in any programming language, because this particular concept actually sums up your full programming language. If you understand this, then 50% of understanding any programming language is done from your side. So let's understand it. What is it? Now, let me particularly read this statement and let me make you understand what is looping. See, iteration is any time a program repeats a process or sequence. That means whenever a program repeats a process again and again, we call it as iteration. Let me take you back to your 12th class or 10th class, right? When you are in your chemistry lab. So you must be knowing about a particular experiment which is called as titration. So what we used to do there will be a chemical flask, right? And in that flask, we used to have some liquid, right? And using the titration, we used to drop, 1 or 2 drops or 3 drops into that particular vessel. So this particular liquid was in pink color, and when we used to drop the other liquid, time comes when this particular liquid becomes white, right? And we store the value that at what time this particular liquid becomes white, right? So what are we basically doing here? So we are basically iterating this particular drop every time. We are dropping the particular chemical or the solution every time till I get the result, till I get the white liquid, right? So I am repeating this task. I'm repeating dropping the drops again and again till the time I get the result. Same thing happens here. The particular loop will keep on moving, keep on iterating till the time I get the result or the condition becomes false. So if you look here, we have three common types of loops. Okay, we have the for loop, we have the while loop, and we have the do while loop. Okay, if you have not understood this particular example, or if you have not gone back to 12th class and understood this, what is it, what is titration, let me particularly explain it through this particular example. So let's see what is it. So here we have written something for and then int I equal to 1. So that means my I value is 1. Now this is the first step. Let's mark it as first. Second step is it will come here. So what is it? I is less than equal to 10. So 1 is less than equal to 10, right? And this is a condition. So is this condition true? Yes, it is true. So the third step will be that it will come down and it will print something. What is printing? It is printing I. So it will print 1, right? So let's write the output somewhere else. Let's do one thing. Let's write the output somewhere here, right? So this is 1 which I'm getting, correct? Now again the fourth step is this one. What is it? I plus plus. So I plus plus meaning is I equal to I plus 1. That means my I was 1, so 1 plus 1 will become 2, and my I is now 2. So now what? Everything is done. Every command I have gone through and I have done. So what now? Is this the only output which I'll get? No. Once your I is 2, again repeat the process, because your process is not stopping here, right? So I equal to 2. Now again we will come back here. So this is your fifth step. So 2 is less than equal to 10. This is also true. Let's come back to sixth step, which is printing. It will print 2. Then again it will go to the seventh step. What is seventh step? I plus plus. So I will now become 3. And again the same procedure will keep on going and will keep on happening. Till when? Till the condition is coming false, right? And what is the time when the condition will come false? When I becomes 11. Because even if the condition is 10 is less than equal to 10, it's true. So when my I becomes 11, my condition will become false and the loop will stop. That means this is the time when my liquid color is becoming white from pink. And I'm going to stop my iteration, right? So my output for this particular program will be 7, 8, 9, 10. This is what I will get as my output, right? So this is what is your basic looping technique. What happens? The same goes here. The same goes into the while loop. What is happening? See, I equal to 1, which I've written here, I is less than equal to 10, which I've written here, I plus plus, which I've written here, is in the same line when I'm using for loop, right? In while loop, we write it in a different line. That's it. Int I equal to 1 is a different line, I is less than equal to 10 is a different line, I plus plus is in a different line. So here the sequence is, in the for loop, the sequence is a little bit tricky. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7, right? But here in while loop the step is very simple. 1, 2, if the condition is true, 3, then 4, then again it will go back to the condition 5, 6. So it is sequence wise, right? That is the only difference when you come to while loop. And same goes to the do while. So in do while, the first particular statement will not be based on the condition. See, the condition is written at the last. So if I have I equal to 1, it will first print. So this is your first step. This is your second step. It will print 1, right? It will print 1. And then it will go to the third step, which is your I plus plus. I will become 2. And then it will go to the fourth step, which is checking the condition. So 2 is less than equal to 10. See, it never checked 1 is less than equal to 10, right? Because my condition is written down. So it will always skip the first condition. It will always skip the first value. It will check the condition from the second value, which is 2. So 2 is less than equal to 10. This is from where it is starting the condition check. When it is true, it will come back and this is your fifth step. So it will print 2. Then again, this is your sixth step, which is I plus plus, so 3. And then the seventh step is 3 is less than equal to 10. So here it will print 3 and it goes on. Correct? So this is how your looping and iteration works. Now let's see in different programming languages, how do we use it? It's really very simple in Python, because in Python we don't have for loop or while loop or do while. We have only one loop, which is for each loop in Python. So there's a variable which is fruits, and inside fruits we have several items: apple, banana, cherry, right? And for x in fruits, so for x variable in fruits, so x is a variable which is going to each one of the items. It will take it out and it will print. Again x will go to banana, again it will print. Again x will go to cherry and again it will print. This is how simple it is in Python. This is how for loop works. What is happening here? Also iteration is happening, right? So how x came to know that there are only 3? Because x first went to apple, fetch it out, print it. X goes to banana, fetch it out, printed. X goes to cherry, fetch it out, printed. Now when x goes beyond cherry, there is no item. So it got to know that this is the end of this particular list, right? Now in Java, I have already given you one example. This is the same way how you write it in Java. And also in C++ is the same way. If you look, right, it's the same way. There's no change. Only the printing statement is changed. That's really very common. And in C language also is the same thing. So in Python is the only language which uses only for each loop to make it much more simpler for you. See, writing a for loop in Java, C++ and C is little bit tedious, because you have so many things, right? You have the initialization thing, then you have the condition, then you have the increment decrement. But in for each loop, you don't have those things. You just have one variable x and it's done. So this is what it is, your looping and iteration concept in all these programming languages. Let's move to our next basic concepts and let's understand what it is. So now we are in our fourth particular basic concept in programming, which is data type, and this we have also seen in our variables basic concept. So let's understand what is data type. So these are the different types of data which we use in our daily writing of any code, right? So it helps classify what information a variable can hold. Okay, so suppose, let's say I have a memory block and it is storing 10, right? Now system should know that what kind of particular value is this. So this is a int, right? Or a number, or a whatever it is, right? So suppose again a memory block is there and the variable name is b, but it stores ram. So again the system should know what type of value it is. So it's a string, correct? So data types help classify what information a variable can hold and what can be done with it. So we have a very common data types which is there in most of the programming languages. These are numbers, decimal, booleans, character, and string. Numbers are nothing but any whole number, right? It can be 8, it can be 0, can be anything. Decimal can be, right, anything which is in decimal number, correct? Booleans is nothing but two values are there in booleans, true and false. Only these two values are there in booleans. Characters are nothing but any characters. It can be a, b, c, r, z, anything. Strings is nothing but any name, right? So mix of characters. So an array of characters we can say, something like Ritvik, Ram, etc. Correct? Now these are the most basic data types in our programming languages, but we have to also see that if I go to Java, then what all data types we can use, what are the names of it, right? So let's see one by one in all the programming languages which all data types do we have. In Python, if you talk about, for a text type we have str. So we don't write here string, we use str. Okay, this is your string. Then we have for numeric, which is int, float, and complex. Int is a numerical, float is a decimal, and complex is your complex numbers, something like 1j or something, right? Sequence type we have list, tuple, and range. So this is your sequence. So if you want to include more than one value in your memory, then we use list, tuple, and range. Mapping is nothing but when you have a key and a value pair, right? So this is a mapping because key is mapping to the value. So this is, we use dictionary. Then we have the set types. So for set also we have set and frozen set. And for boolean we have bool keyword. So this is your true and false. And for binary types we have bytes, byte array, and memory view. So you can see all the basic data types which we have seen in the earlier side, and in Python you can see how different it is, right? So there are a number of varieties in the data type when you come to Python. When it comes to Java, then we have a very common data types. If you see, byte, short, and int. See, all these three are for numeric numbers. But why there is no only one data type? Why there are three? Because all these different data types are having different sizes. So byte can only store 1 byte of information, but short can store 2 bytes of information, and int can store 4 bytes of data. So it stores the same kind of thing, but of different sizes. Again, long is also coming under your int itself. So we can't skip this. Yeah. So it is of 8 bytes. When you talk about float and double, so float and double are two things which is used for storing a decimal number, right? So float is for 4 bytes. Again, the difference is the same, the size. Float is storing smaller decimal numbers and double is for storing larger decimal numbers, which is of around 8 byte size. Boolean is true and false, and you should understand that Boolean stores true and false, right? Which I've already told you in the previous slide. So true means 1 and false means 0. So if you look here, 1 is what? It's just 1 bit, right? 0 is also 1 bit. So the size of boolean is also 1 bit. And the last one is char, which is used to store the characters. So the characters will store a 2 byte of data. Okay, and that is how we represent it in Java. Okay, but you will observe here that there is no string in Java, right? But because in Java, string is a class. Okay, it is also a data type, but it is a non-primitive data type. That means it can store a number of characters, right? So it doesn't come under primitive data types. It comes under non-primitive data types. Okay. Now let's jump to C++. So C++ is having a very common and very structured data type, which is just int. So there's no complications of short, long, byte and all. So it's just int for numeric numbers. For float, we have float and double for decimal. So we have two things here, float and double. The same thing which is there in Java, 4 bytes and 8 bytes, and boolean and char. That's it. Okay, so there is no short, there's no long, there's no byte, right? Those things are not there. Okay, when it comes to C, what all things we have? Again, we have the same things. You can see in basic data types, we have int, char, float, and double. But when it comes to non-primitive, which is your derived, right? So we have array, pointer, structure, and union, right? So these were removed from Python, Java, and C because in C++ because these were very complicated stuffs. So these were removed from the all those different programming languages. We have one enumeration data type also, which is enum, and we have a void data type, which is no return data type, that is a void. So we have several different kinds of data types when we come to C, right? So that is why people say that when you learn C language, then you will see a variety of things. But when you go to C++ and then you jump to Java, then you will see variations, and it will be much more easier for you to learn those programming languages, because C is the most complicated one, and then C++ will become more easy. Java will become more easier, and then Python is the easiest one, right? So this is how data types are segregated in all these programming languages, and this is also one of the most basic concept in programming. Now let's move to the last programming concept which we are going to discuss in this particular video, and that is our functions. Now what is this function? Let me first explain it to you in a very easy manner, okay, so that it will be very easy for you to understand whenever you are learning any programming language. Okay, let's say that you are going to be alone in your home for the whole day, and your mom and dad will go to work for the whole day. Okay, now in the morning 8 a.m. your mom has prepared a cake for you, right? And she has divided the cake into some slices. Why she has done that? Your mom is saying it to you that hey son, can you please eat, whenever you're hungry you go to kitchen and eat a slice of this particular cake, right? So your mom is telling it to you that you go to kitchen whenever you're hungry and take a slice of this cake and then go back to your work. You do your homeworks or whatever you are doing, correct? What is happening here? So your mom doesn't want you to prepare food for you the whole day, not even the breakfast, not the morning, not in the evening, not the dinner, right? So your mom only wants you to eat this cake the whole day so that you will be, filled. So what you will do, you'll go at 9 a.m, you'll go to your kitchen, you'll have a slice of cake, you'll come back to your room, you'll do your work. 12 p.m. again you will go, again you will have a slice of cake. Again 2 p.m. you'll go to the kitchen, you'll have a slice of cake. Again like this you will keep on going and keep on eating this cake slice till your mom or dad is coming back home. Correct? What are you basically doing? So already something is prepared for you. You are just using that whenever it is required. Function also works like this. Functions are prepared and kept. Whenever you want it, you call that. Whenever you want it, you call it. Okay, so that whenever you want something, you don't have to write that whole thing. No. So you store it somewhere and you use it whenever you want, right? So that is what is your function. So again and again, you don't have to go to kitchen and prepare your food, right? It is a waste of time. So you have already prepared your food for once, and the whole day you are eating that food. Yes, it is usable, correct? Same thing is function. Now let's see what are these, what is the proper definition of these. So these are self-contained modules of code. So these are already created modules of code that accomplish a particular task anytime, whenever needed. Right, this point is very important. Whenever needed, you for a particular task, you can go to this code, you can call it, and it will be done. So you don't have to write this particular code again and again every time. You have to just write it once and use it whenever you want, right? So there are two types how we can write the methods: method with row return type and methods with return type. Now remember, in data type, when I was discussing the C language, I told you there is one data type which is void, right? So if you look here, methods with no return type, that means void is a data type which does not return anything. So if you're creating a method public void aid and you are using the word here void, right? So that means it should not return anything. So you can see it is not returning anything, it is just printing at the last. So it is not returning any value. But in the second one, if you see, we are not writing void, we are writing int. So if you're writing int, that means it's a normal data type. So it will return some value. So it is returning some as the value. So the meaning of saying this is that when you are using a no return data type which is void in a function or while defining a function, then that function will not return anything. But when you are using a particular data type which returns a value in a function while defining it, then that function will return some value, right? So this is the two things which is really very important to understand when you are learning function in any particular programming language. Now let's go ahead with the different programming languages, how we are using the function. So if you look in Python, it's really very simple. You have to just use the word def. Def means definition. So def, so we are defining the function. This my function is the name of the function, and that's it. Whatever is inside the function, that is your printing statement. So this is your one module, okay? This is your one function. Now whenever you want to use this function, you have to just call this function. How you will call it? You have to just write the function name with the bracket, that's it. Once you write this, whenever you will write this particular thing, suppose I have written 3 times, 1, 2 and 3. Whenever you're writing this, it will go to this particular function and it will print hello from function. So how many times it will print hello from function? 3 times. Why 3 times? Because I'm calling that function 3 times. Same goes to your Java. So in Java, you can see again, it is creating one particular function which is named as my method, and they're using void. So it's a no return data type. That means the method will not return anything. And again, if you want to call this method anytime, so we can write something like this, my method semicolon. If you're writing it 4 times, then 4 times that particular code will be executed, whatever is written inside the function. The same goes to C++. Again, the function name is my function, and any statement will be written inside it. How many times you will call it, that many time that particular statement will be printed, whatever is written inside the function, right? And the same goes to C. So function is really very easy concept when it comes to syntax, because in most of the programming languages we write the function in the same manner. Okay, so here also we have to call it in this way. So how many times you'll write? Let's suppose I'm writing 3 times. So 3 times it will print hello C, hello C, hello C, right? So this is what is your function as a basic concept, which is there in all different kinds of programming languages. We have seen in all these different programming languages how we write the function. So when it comes to C and C++, we call functions as function, and when it comes to Java and Python, then we call it as method. This is one thing which you should remember. So C and C++, we call it as functions, but when it comes to Java and Python, we call it as method. Okay, these both are same, only the wordings is different. That's it. Okay, now we have come up to the end of this particular video, so let's summarize what all things we have learned. So in this particular session, or in this particular video, we have understood the 5 different basic concepts which is used in any programming language, so that it will be easy for you to now pick up any programming language and get started with it. Now, if you start with C programming language and you cover all the basic concepts, to understand C++, it will be much more easier for you, because all the basic concepts you have already studied and known about it. Now, after C++, when you go to Java, it will be much more easier for you, because now you have an idea of all the basic concepts written in C++. So now in Java, just one simple syntax will change and all the basic concepts you'll be able to write it. Same goes with Python. So after Java, when you jump to Python programming language, again the same 5 basic concepts is used, and it will be very much easier to understand Python also. And that's how you're going to get knowledge on all these 4 different programming languages. Not only these 4, but we have also some more programming languages like JavaScript, Perl, right? So these all programming languages also you can easily learn when you will know these 5 basic concepts. So why you're wasting time? Start your journey and start learning all these programming languages. All the best. Have a great learning, and I'll see you soon. I want to introduce you to Great Learning Academy, a free initiative by Great Learning. You can access over 200 plus courses with 1000 plus hours of free content on trending high demand domains absolutely free. Register now to complete the course and get your free certificate of completion. Check out the link in the description of the video below. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, I want to request you to hit the subscribe button and turn on the notifications bell so that you don't miss out on any new updates or video releases from Great Learning. If you enjoyed this video, show us some love and like this video. Knowledge increases by sharing, so make sure you share this video with your friends and colleagues. Make sure to comment on the video any queries or suggestions, and I will respond to your comments.